In The Mandalorian, it is stated a couple times that Mandalore has been destroyed by the Empire. With the destruction came the spoils of the Purge, the rare mineral known as Beskar. Mandalore is one of the few planets that contain this highly sought-after mineral. In fact, only Mandalore and its moon Concordia contain the precious metal. But now, Mandalore is in shambles, if the stories are to be believed, and the Beskar is limited. The steel has been used for generations by Mandalorians to make their armor, a warrior class of humans whose only defense against the Force wielders and their lightsabers. But what if there is an untapped resource of Beskar? Today on Star Wars Fanatic. Before I move on with my theory, I'll encourage you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all my Star Wars theories and discussions. Also hit the like button to show your love for what I do here. Now, let's get on with the theory. As I mentioned, Mandalore is in shambles due to the Imperial Purge of the planet and its moon Concordia. One would assume this includes the whole of the Mandalorian sector and would include Concord Dawn and Ekan, just to name a couple. The Mandalorian people are scattered and ununited. The remnants of the Mandalorian culture are scattered throughout the galaxy in small groups called coverts. One such covert is that of Din Djarin's, the Children of the Watch. On the run and hiding from the galaxy, the Mandalorian series has shown that the Mandalorians are being hunted for their sacred armor. In the first episode, a couple thugs try to take Din Djarin's armor, and in another, in Season 2, a man claims to collect Beskar from Mandalorians he kills and attempts to do the same to Din Djarin. Not only the underworld, but the Empire as well. But throughout the Mandalorian, one planet is returned to 3 times. A planet that is steeped in Star Wars lore. It is this planet that Anakin Skywalker and his mother were slaves. It was the same planet that Anakin's son Luke Skywalker grew up with his aunt and uncle as Obi-Wan Kenobi watched over the young boy. The planet? Tatooine. Tatooine has played a pivotal role in Star Wars. It is the place that propelled Anakin from slavery to Jedi Padawan. It was Tatooine that Obi-Wan Kenobi recruited Luke Skywalker into a rebellion that also began Luke's Jedi training. Full of bounty hunters, crime lords, miscreant pilots, and just people hiding from the rest of the galactic society. It was lawless for as long as anyone can remember. The Republic had virtually no presence there, and the Empire only had a minor garrison station there after the Death Star plans were stolen. It wasn't the best place to raise children back then. Along comes Cobb Vanth, the self-imposed sheriff of Mos Pelgo, a small town on Tatooine. In the Aftermath novels, Cobb Vanth was the one to bring law to Tatooine. We will see if it was his doing in the Mandalorian series as well. But at the time we see Cobb Vanth, it was about 5 years after the Empire was sent on the run after the Battle of Endor, and even Mos Eisley, the spaceport that we meet Han Solo in A New Hope, seems to be rid of scum and villainy. Even droids are working in a cantina that they were once segregated from. It's also during this time that Din Djarin bridges the gap between human and Tusken Raider relationships. It appears the Tuskens were just misunderstood. Communication is always key in any healthy relationship. And by the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, Tatooine is revisited again. Revisited? I don't know. But the camera pans to Jabba the Hutt's palace, where Boba Fett and his sidekick, Fennec Shan, kill all inside, save for one slave girl. They set her free. So now, Tatooine will play a pivotal role in the upcoming Book of Boba Fett series, as Boba sits on the throne in the palace. Okay, so back to the theory. If you have seen my other videos about this on The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, you will know what's coming up. A lot of fans claim that the return to Tatooine over and over makes the universe small, that everything doesn't have to be about this desert planet. But let's look at Tatooine summed up. Anakin was a slave there, and Jedi just happened upon a being with the highest midichlorian count ever known. Luke is taken there after birth, where the rebellion happens to be battling overhead. Not just the rebellion, but Luke's estranged sister and Anakin's daughter. Not to mention the golden droid that was built there, C-3PO. Doesn't that make the galaxy seem small? I don't know. But the point is, Tatooine is being set up for something much larger. It has actually become a character in the Star Wars universe, with character growth and an arc. I get it. How can a planet be a character? Well, I see the Millennium Falcon as a character as well. But we'll talk about that another time. Alright, sorry, I got sidetracked. Mandalore is gone. Mandalorians continue to show up on Tatooine. See where I'm going with this? But first, let's look at similarities. When we see Mandalore in different series, such as the Clone Wars and Rebels, it's a desert planet. But it wasn't always that way. It was originally much like Earth, with forests and farmlands and oceans. But centuries of war caused it to become barren. Okay, Tatooine was the same way. The now desert planet was rich in forests and oceans, but because of the binary suns and other conditions, it caused Tatooine to become a desert planet. See the connection? This isn't to say it is exactly what's happening, but what if? The will of the Force is strong. It resides in all living things, even Mandalorians, even planets. Maybe the Force keeps bringing Din Djarin and Boba Fett to Tatooine for a reason. Maybe one of those reasons is the planet is rich in Beskar, and the Mandalorians can start a new civilization there. Sure, you can tell me that Boba Fett isn't a Mandalorian all day, but the fact is, he was raised by one and has familial ties to the Mandalorian culture. With that aside, here are some reasons it makes sense that Tatooine will become the new Mandalore. First, it isn't Jakku. Had to say it. But seriously, first, Tatooine is on the outer rim, just as Mandalore was. It's an area that neither the Republic nor the Empire could control and was left to its own devices, for the most part. It makes it perfect location and political climate for Mandalorians to have an autonomous civilization and government. Second, it has the same landscape and climate that Mandalorians have become accustomed to. It would be easy for them to settle into their new home. And third, Tatooine is not mentioned at all during the sequel trilogy. Not that it's a big deal, but what if it isn't mentioned because the First Order have left the Mandalorians alone for the time being? At least until they can establish a more powerful foothold in the parts of the galaxy that are easier to occupy. Remember, the Mandalorians would not accept another occupation lightly. Back to my first statement, Tatooine isn't Jakku. There's a reason the sequel trilogy has a new desert planet that isn't Tatooine. I know that last bit is a stretch, and the writers probably just wanted to stay off Tatooine for a more open galaxy or lack of understanding in the Star Wars galaxy as a whole. But it would be a great tie-in and explanation of some of the story choices in the sequels. Plus, can you imagine if Rey were actually from Tatooine in the sequels? Her story is already close enough to Luke's hero tale. Everyone would be even more outraged than they already are. But I will go back to the Beskar for my final point. Since Tatooine and Mandalore have had a similar history as for their ecosystems and geology, wouldn't it make sense that Beskar could be just below the surface of Tatooine, as it was on Mandalore? So, between the force-pulling Mandalorians to Tatooine, the similar histories of the planets, the political climates, and the location of Tatooine all being similar to Mandalore, it just makes sense to bring the Mandalorians together on the new planet to start anew. But what do you think? Do you have a better theory? Let me know in the comments below on this glorious Tatooine Tuesday. Don't forget to slap that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all my Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and all-encompassing Star Wars content. Also, grab that thumbs up button and give it a pull to show your love for all the hard work I put into this and every video. Thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way. The only way.